originating from the podcast studio inside FAM 360's headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia. This is the Above and Beyond Leadership Podcast. The Above and Beyond Leadership Podcast is designed to encourage, equip, and inspire our audience through a combination of inspirational stories and real-life experiences shared by other successful and skilled leaders in a variety of vocations. We hope that the Above and Beyond Leadership Podcast empowers each one of us to step out, step up, and ultimately thrive as leaders. Now here's our host, Mr. Matt Maloney.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Above and Beyond Leadership Podcast. I am your host, Mr. Matt Maloney. I am thrilled to introduce today's guest. But before I introduce her, I'm going to give you a little background, a little snippet on her. Today's guest is a trailblazing attorney. She specializes in complex litigation and consumer finance law. She is also what I would probably classify now as a serial entrepreneur. She owns and is a part of several other organizations, including In the Park, which hosts two major national conferences in the accounts receivable management industry. She is the host of her own podcast, Tech on Reg, and serves as managing partner of Actuate Law and CoinTech, a subsidiary of Actuate, and serves as general counsel for Fintechs. She is an angel investor. She is really deep in the fintech space. She knows anything and everything you can imagine or want to know about fintech. And in 2019, she co-founded the Illinois Women Vote, building a network of thousands of informed voters in Illinois. She is a proud alumni of Northwestern University, Loyola University School of Law, and Money 2020's Rise Up program. And she resides in Chicago, is a mother of three, and can always be seen wearing at least one piece of skull jewelry. I'd love to welcome Dara Tarkowski.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so fun to be a guest and not the host
right
now.
I know.
Yeah.
How does that feel? Does that feel different, weird, good?
I love it. I'm going to soak up every minute of it because I have to record. I get to switch seats with you later this afternoon when I've got to record some stuff of my own. But no, I'm super jazzed to be on this side of the mic.
Well, I know you were telling me earlier that I guess since you took a couple of weeks off, you've got a number of podcast sessions that you have to film yourself, right?
Yeah, we've got some compressed recording time this week, but that's what makes us who we are. We can't help ourselves.
That's right. That's right. Well, hey, so for our audience, why don't we start off softball question? Just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do. I mean, that was a mouthful.
Sure. So first and foremost, I am a lawyer, right? I know that's a dirty word to a lot of people, but I've been practicing for over 15 years now, which is sort of blows my mind when I sit back and think about it. I grew up born in New York, grew up in South Florida girl, ended up in Chicago for undergrad, and then sort of fell in love with the city. Met my husband, 3 kids, and now practicing. And I've spent my entire adult life here. When I was in law school, I don't know that I would have nobody goes to law school thinking, yes, like I'm going to work in financial services.
Yeah, right.
After I graduate. We all have dreams about arguing in front of the Supreme Court and freeing people from prison and doing these grand things. But as it turned out, I really did connect with the whole, intersection of law and the economy, even back when I was in law school. So much so that my third year of law school, I ended up being the editor-in-chief of Loyola's Consumer Law Review, which was a different law review, nationally renowned law review, solely focused on consumer issues. So that area of law has been of a great interest and passion of mine, even back when I was in law school, when everyone else was, thinking about, when they were going to have their Clarence Darrow moments in court. So sort of fast forward, I, graduated from law school, took the very traditional AmLaw 100 route, became a young associate, sort of grinding my way up the very sort of methodical ladder of big law here in Chicago. Moved to another AmLaw 100 law firm where I helped open their Chicago office, and I became sort of the only female equity partner in that office for a very long time. And the whole time, I accidentally became my firm's Dodd-Frank expert when the economy imploded. So I joke that I need to send Krista a fruit basket, every holiday season, because it's going to help put all my kids through college.
Yeah, right.
And then it really wasn't until 2018 where I like to say I got a chance to really spread my wings when I left the big law infrastructure and decided to form Actuate with a number of partners of mine. And we took our clients and we took our books and we took our brains and we decided to, take the leap and do something very anti-lawyerly, because we're generally very risk-averse people, and sort of plant our flag to create a really entrepreneurial law firm that focuses on serving clients who are traditionally underserved by big law firms, where we've got more rate flexibility, super high level of expertise, but doing it in a way that clients can actually afford to pay. As opposed to many of my very skilled and wonderful colleagues where their billing has become sort of obstructive for most middle market companies to take advantage of. So that was the goal. That was the vision. And then sort of very organic. I'm a person who likes to listen to her gut and the universe. So when opportunities present themselves, I generally believe that you should pay attention. Doesn't mean you got to do everything, but I think it's important to pay attention to what the universe is saying to you. And it's really through that, all of these other sort of ventures to create my, the serial entrepreneur title that you gave me. It was just me sort of taking a step back out of a corporate structure and paying attention to the world around me and seeing, what is feeding my brain, what is feeding my heart, what are all of these things that are making me happy. And let's do that because life's really short.
So I think this is interesting because I think there's so many people out there who are working for, whether it's other law firms or whether it's other companies, who have this burning, innate desire to step up, step out, go on their own. But there's that one little thing, that one little voice in their head that's like, ooh, you don't have this, you don't have that, you can't do this. Did you experience that? Like when you guys were thinking about doing this and stepping out, leaving the comfort of this big law firm that you were at, where you were a partner, what did that feel like and look like? And how did you overcome any of because sometimes we can be our worst enemy, our own worst enemy, in terms of telling ourselves these lies in our head.
For sure. And, it's the classic, I think, mental battle that a lot of professionals have of the known versus the unknown, the comfort versus the discomfort, and, how I choose to allocate the risk in my life and where I have the flexibility to add risk to one's life. And everyone is so different and everyone's risk tolerance is different. Their responsibilities are different. So for me, I'm a mother of three. I have, an intense sense of responsibility for both myself, my family. And I really thought long and hard, especially in making the decision about starting your own company, starting your own business. It's not just about, in my mind, can I do it for myself?
Yeah.
But if I am going to ask others to trust me and come work for me and leave other roles and leave other positions and have that sort of confidence and faith in me, that not only can I take care of myself and my business, but I can take care of them as well.
Yeah.
That's something that I take very, very seriously.
Yeah.
I care very deeply about each and every employee who, had the confidence in me to leave a very cushy, well-paying job,
Sure.
To help me follow my dream. And I'm hoping that through that, I reciprocate that trust as well, because I do think it's a very generous gift for someone to give any leader. And that's definitely how I took it. So I try to give it back pretty considerably and obviously. And I think that's what really helps build a great team.
Yeah.
So for anyone who has those sort of like nagging thoughts in their head of, can I do this? Should I do this? I would encourage them to not view it sort of myopically as an island, because it's not just about what you can do. It's about what you can get those around you to help you do as well. Because I truly believe there is no I in team. You do need a team.
No doubt.
Of people who will support one another to help sort of effectuate those goals. It's a rare person who can do it all on their own. And I would be lying if I said I did. I certainly had fantastic support around me.
Yeah, I think you learned that really very quickly as an entrepreneur and going out and stepping out. What's maybe initially classified as stepping out on your own, but you're really not on your own. You have to have really good people around you and trust in them, and they're entrusting in you. And I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs across the globe, obviously in America, but entrepreneurs are not always great leaders. But I think you touched on something that makes great entrepreneurs into great leaders, and that's mentorship, like mentoring and loving on those people. And look, when you first start a company and you start an organization, you're just trying to get things done, right? You're trying to execute on whatever your objectives are, while at the same time you're mentoring people without even realizing you're mentoring people. But you've taken what seemingly is a very intentional approach to investing in your people and mentoring them. And so I thought, just talk to me about female mentorship specifically, and how that is a big piece of your organization's success in your career.
No, so thank you. And it is something that's very important to me. And I promised myself that I wasn't going to get like all weepy and emotional about this, but every once in a while, I talk about it because it makes me think about the things that I really do wish that I had as a young lawyer. And there was one, there was one person in particular who sort of drilled this notion into my head. But big law, like many other, industries, is and remains very male dominated. Mm-hmm. So to the extent that, the employment numbers start evening out, the number of female executives that you have at senior and C-level management positions or even board positions is still statistically very underrepresented.
Yeah.
And it becomes really hard. There's a friend of mine and, a co-founder of a nonprofit here in Chicago. His name is Bhavan Joseph, and he founds the Greenwood Project, which is focused on diversity in financial services, specifically, for Black and Brown communities. Mm. And he has a phrase that he uses, which I really believe in. It's like, if you can't see it, you can't be it. Mm. That's and good. As a young lawyer, it was very difficult for me to look around the environments around me and see a strong female. There were very few whose career I really wanted to emulate, where I could look around and say, yes, I want to be able to do that. And there's a whole host of reasons for that. But that didn't need to be the case. And I wanted to make sure that if I was going to be building my firm, I wanted to learn from all of those experiences and things that I really wish I had, and try to embody that for those who work for me. And I think I've done a great job. Personally, I'm just going to tell myself.
Yeah, you've done a great job. Yes.
Of building a really strong team of female lawyers here. That's not to say that we don't have awesome dudes who work for us too. Yeah. We absolutely do. But it was really about, particularly in the area that I practice, which is an intersection of law and tech and financial services. That's just like dudes. We've got it's the intersection of three very male dominated industries. And I like to think that now I've really created a competitive advantage, not just for my business, but, for those professionals who are thriving in that environment. And I want to be the person that other, female lawyers, executives can look to and say, yeah, that's, I hope that I can do that.
Yeah, that's good. That's powerful. Thank you for sharing that. So, obviously, even today, you stepped up, you've built this amazing law firm, and you're involved in these other businesses. Just like all of us, there's still challenges that we face every single day. And so for you in your leadership capacity, because as you have probably well realized, as your organization has grown and as you've branched out into other things, you face different types of challenges, and you also take on different types of roles. And as you take on those new roles, there's different challenges that present themselves. So just curious for maybe audience members that are listening that maybe in a similar phase of their career, maybe they've stepped out, maybe they've built maybe they're lawyers and they've built great law firms. But what are some of the challenges today that you find yourself facing? Maybe it's specific to the discipline of law that you're operating in, or maybe it's even beyond that with your other businesses.
So there are things that are common threads of
Mm-hmm.
challenges sort of generationally as time passes that I think all employers are facing.
Mm.
COVID, a changing workforce, the dynamics of the work environment in general. Those are the same challenges that all businesses, frankly, have been facing during COVID. I almost cringe to call anything that we're in right now post-COVID, because I think we're still sort of just like bobbing around in it. But the workforce is changing. Generationally, the largest portion of the workforce are millennials and younger.
Yeah.
And, just our management styles should change, ought to change,
Yeah.
to sort of meet where your workforce is. And I think for those leaders who are waiting for them to change for you, I think you're going to be waiting a really, really long time.
Yeah.
So I've spent a lot of time, thoughts, like taking a bunch of classes about communication styles, things that resonate, things that used to motivate one generation of workforce doesn't motivate the next generation of workforce
No
in
doubt.
the same way.
Yep.
The benefits that you think are going to get someone really excited may not anymore. Yes, everyone's always excited about bonuses, but it's so much more than money now. And it's about sort of flexibility and travel and living your life. And, how can we create powerful professionals and productive professionals in environments where they still feel like they love their lives as a whole, not just their professional lives.
Yep.
So that's sort of the same. The practice of law is also ever changing. Technology has very much changed the way the industry functions from the time that I started, which is in part why we actually ended up founding CoinTech. The automation of law and legal services, and trying to figure out better, faster mousetraps for legal problems, I think is very important, mostly because there is so much that technology can do, frankly, better than humans.
Yeah.
And my career has shown me that clients don't mind paying for a really smart lawyer as long as they're doing smart lawyer things.
That's right.
And not sort of like administrative clicking through documents, stuff that's not really worth $500 an hour.
Right. Exactly.
So that's what CoinTech does. So we like to be on the forefront of cutting edge technology, where we basically help build robot lawyers. So for problems that can be easily automated, that have a legal bend, that's sort of what we do. And
fascinating. It's really cool.
Every sort of evolution of my career and my businesses, they're not accidental, they are intentional, and many of them are complementary of one another. So the firm, we have the blessing really of being able to hear so many challenges of what clients are experiencing. And through that sort of lab, right, process where you get to hear about all of these operational challenges, business challenges, legal challenges, every once in a while, an opportunity presents itself. It's like, I can build something to automate that problem and fix it permanently for you, right?
Yeah.
So those are the areas where I think a good fiduciary is saying, hey, here's a way that I can actually solve this legal problem for you more efficiently. Even though I'll make more money the other way, this is the right thing to do. So that's really what CoinTech was. It was us finding those case studies for clients to be able to apply a technology solution to a legal problem. And that's what CoinTech does. So
that's awesome.
That's sort of the next thing. And then that's what the podcast talks about, right?
Yeah.
My podcast talks about, the intersection of those three things. And I think as long as you're keeping your brain stimulated and you're doing things that are interesting to you and, are intellectually satisfying, there's a maybe silly part of me that believes sort of the money and the success will follow. So to me, I think as long as your brain's into it, then you're in good shape as a leader.
Well, look,
you got to keep the brain stimulated.
No doubt. And I think that's a great place to come to, is that as leaders, as entrepreneurs, whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or someone, if you're not doing something that is interesting to you, that is passionate to you, then you are not going to be successful. And success isn't necessarily, and you kind of touched on it a second ago, it's not necessarily defined by monetary value. I believe success is defined by your contribution. That's what I believe, is that when we're successful, we're contributing, and what our contribution is, and that ultimately yields these other fruits as part of that derivatives, which may be perhaps money and maybe other things too, right? Other life success. So so the audience knows, I work with Dara and her law firm. They are one of our law firms, so I guess I'm a client of hers, and it's just been fascinating to see your growth. It's been fascinating and inspiring, and in some ways empowering to me to see the things that you're doing. Myself as a serial entrepreneur, I really get energized by looking at the things and seeing the successes of other people. And so I really appreciate all that you do for me as an organization, but also what you do for me intrinsically, and just being able to watch from afar as you've grown your businesses.
It's a very humbling compliment. So thank you so much. And the feeling is very much mutual, Matt.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All right, let's close with this quote. Success seems to be connected with action. Successful people keep moving. They make mistakes, but they don't quit. That's by Conrad Hilton. To all of our subscribers and listeners out in podcast land, thanks for joining us today. I hope today's episode was both inspirational and empowering. And I pray as we go out on our daily journeys that you have opportunities to lift others up as we aim to go above and beyond. Thanks, everyone.
Our executive producer and host is Matt Maloney, President and CEO of FAM360. Strategic Communication Coordinator, Michelle Decato. Production assistance by Tin Dog Studios. Director, John Berland. Creative Assistant, Whitney Berland. Theme song, Connecting Dots by Curtis Cole, provided by Artlist. Please subscribe today, and don't miss any of our weekly episodes.